Test 1. Test 2. Test 3. Focus. Activating library. Query. Human. English. Romantic. Poetry. Cycle. Vocals 1 through 5. Start program.
To the Cuckoo by William Wordsworth. O blithe newcomer, I have heard, I hear thee and rejoice. O cuckoo, shall I call thee bird, or but a wandering voice? While I am lying on the grass, thy twofold shout I hear. From hill to hill it seems to pass, at once far off and near. Though babbling only to the vale of sunshine and of flowers, thou bringest unto me a tale of visionary hours. Thrice welcome, darling of the spring, even yet thou art to me no bird, but an invisible thing, a voice, a mystery. The same whom in my schoolboy days I listened to, that cry which made me look 1,000 ways, in bush and tree and sky. To seek thee did I often rove through woods and on the green, and thou wert still a hope, a love, still longed for, never seen. And I can listen to thee yet, can lie upon the plain and listen till I do beget that golden time again. O blessed bird, the earth we pace again appears to be an unsubstantial, fairy place that is fit home for thee.
To the Owl by Robert Burns. Sad bird of night, what sorrow calls thee forth to vent thy plaints thus in the midnight hour? Is it some blast that gathers in the north, threatening to nip the herder of thy power? Is it, sad owl, that autumn strips the shade and leaves thee here, unsheltered and forlorn? Or fear that winter will thy nest invade? Or friendless melancholy birds thee mourn? Shout out, lone bird, from all the feathered trains to tell thy sorrows to thy unheeding bloom. No friend to pity when thou doth complain, grief all thy thought, and solitude thy home. Sing on, sad mourner, I will bless thy strain, and pleased in sorrow listen to thy song. Sing on, sad mourner, to the night complain, while the long echo wafts thy notes along. Is beauty less when down the glowing cheek sad piteous tears in native sorrows fall? Less kind the heart when anguish bids thy break? Less happy he who lists to pity's call? Ah, no, sad owl, nor is thy voice less sweet. That sadness tunes it, and that grief is there. That spring's gay notes unskilled thou canst repeat, that sorrow bids thee to the gloom repair. Nor that the treble songsters of the day are quite estranged, sad bird of night, from thee. Nor that the thrush deserts the evening spray when darkness calls thee from thy reverie. From some old tower, thy melancholy dome, while the gray walls and desert solitudes return each note responsive to the gloom of ivied coverts and surrounding woods. There, hooting, I will list more pleased to thee than ever lover the nightingale. or drooping wretch, oppressed with misery, lending his ear to some condoling tale.
Just by the wooden brig, a bird flew up, fripped by the cowboy as he scrambled down to reach the misty dewberry. Let us stoop and seek its nest. The brook we need not dread, 'tis scarcely deep enough for bee to drown, so it sinks harmless o'er its pebbly bed. Aye, here it is, stuck close beside the bank, beneath the bunch of grass that spindles rank, its husk seeds tall and high. 'Tis rudely planned of bleached stubbles and the withered fare that last year's harvest left upon the land, lined thinly with the horse's sable hair. 5 eggs, pen scribbled o'er with ink their shells, resembling writing scrawls which fancy reads as nature's poesy and pastoral spells. They are the yellowhammers, and she dwells most poet-like where brooks and flowery weeds, as sweet as cackle to fancy seems, and that old molehill like as Parnassus Hill, on which her partner happily sits and dreams o'er all her joys of song. So leave it still, a happy home of sunshine, flowers, and streams. Yet, in the sweetest places cometh ill, a noisome weed that burdens every soil, for instincts are known to chill and deadly coil to watch such nests and seize the helpless young. And like as though the plague became a guest, leaving a houseless home, a ruined nest, and mournful hath the little warbler sung, when such like woes hath rent its little breast.
The Raven, by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow from my lost Lenore, or the rare and raged maiden with the angel's name Lenore, nameless here, forevermore. And the silken sad uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you, ere I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before, Surely, I said, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and the mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the stately days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped nor stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much as I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther did he utter, not a feather, then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than uttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, I said, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy and smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking evermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight glowed o'er, but whose velvet violet lining the lamplight glowing o'er. She rests, nevermore. Then, methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hast lent thee, by these angels he has sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell his soul is sorrow-laden, if within the distant Aiden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of thy lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out of my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws the shadow on the floor. From my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating to the floor, shall be lifted evermore.
The Darkling Thrush by Thomas Hardy. I leant upon a coppice gate when frost was spectre grey, and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted nigh had sought their household fires. The land's sharp features seemed to be the century's corpse outland, his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. The ancient pulse of germ and birth was shrunken hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overhead, in a full-hearted evensong of joy illimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt, and small, in blast beruffled plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good-night air some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware.